Hi, fifth grade. Remember, we are working on Rangoli designs that have radial symmetry. And the last time I saw you, you were drawing in your sketchbooks. You were using little squares inside your sketchbooks to create a design that includes 4 different kinds of lines. Remember, we're using 4 different kinds of lines and thick and thin lines. You had maybe 2 different designs in your sketchbook, but I told you if you liked one of them, you could go ahead and just use that one next time when you come to art. The other thing I want to remind you is that your design should start from a corner and work its way outward. So both of these designs that I have in here are working its way out towards the outside corner. So I'm going to show you the next step, which is you're going to redraw your line design on a thin piece of paper using regular pencil. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. To save time, I actually got started ahead, and I want to just show you that I'm copying this design. It's not exact, but it's pretty close on this paper. And then I did all of my thin lines, and now I'm going to go back. I'm going to come and thicken up some of those lines that I had in here that were thick, because remember, I want you to have thin and thick lines. Excuse me. And if there's something in this design that you don't like, you can always leave it out or change it or add to it. Like these circles, I think I want to add another circle inside. So I'm just going to do that now, because I want you to consider this thin paper that we're using. It's this paper right here. It's a very kind of thin piece of paper. I want you to consider that your good paper, because whatever design that you do on this paper is what you're going to be using for your final artwork. And I'm just thickening up some of these other lines to make it look a little bit more interesting. I didn't add these details, so I'm going to come in now. The more types of lines, line designs, and details that you add into your artwork, the more interesting it's going to be. So I don't want to see a lot of empty negative space in your artwork. I'd like for you to fill up as much of this space as possible. It's only a tiny little square, so it shouldn't be so hard to fill up all of that space. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with my design, but before I move on, and just to give you a little bit more help, if you're struggling on what kinds of lines you can add, we have so many different kinds of lines that you can choose from: straight, curved, dotted, dashed, zigzag, jagged, thick, and thin. Remember, I need you to have some thick lines and some thin lines in your artwork anyway. And I have another poster that will be up on the wall just for inspiration. If you can't think of a pattern that you want to use, take a look at this poster and something might come to mind. I'm going to move on now to step 2. Now that I have my paper ready to go, your teacher is going to give you a piece of styrofoam. This is styrofoam right here. It's kind of thick and hard, not super hard. The next thing that's going to happen is I forgot. Step 2. Here we go. Step 2. You're going to get your styrofoam square, like I just said, and you're going to write your name on the back of it in Sharpie. It's really important that you use Sharpie to write your name. And I want you also to write your teacher code. So if you are in Miss Solo's class, you are going to write 5-SO. And if you are in Miss Ford's class, you're going to write 5-FO. If you are thinking of all of our 5th grade teachers, Miss Henry's class, you're going to write 5-HE. If you are in Mr. Corman's class, you're going to write 5-KO, and we have one more.
Lee.
If you are in Miss Lee's class, thank you, you're going to write 5-LE, okay? So it has to be in Sharpie, because if I were to write my name on this foam in pencil, it would transfer to the other side. and it would make it kind of pop up, and it would ruin your printing plate that we're going to use this for. So name on the back in Sharpie. Step 3, here we go. Now you're going to take this piece of paper and you're going to tape it to the front, the blank side of your styrofoam. So I'm taking this paper and I'm placing it right on top. I'm going to get a little piece of tape for the top. This tape is going to have to just be kind of only covering up a little tiny bit of your artwork and then folding over to the back like that. And then another piece at the bottom just to keep it in place. If you need help with this, your teacher will be able to help you. Okay, so just make sure that it's on there straight, and we are good to go. Moving on to step 4. Now we're going to trace over all of these lines. This is going to be a lot of tracing and retracing to make this happen. Trace over all your lines, and I want you to use a colored pencil for this. It needs to be a color that will show up. Not yellow probably, but I think any other color. White won't work, but I think any other color will work. The reason for it being a colored pencil is because if I went over these lines that I just did with pencil, I might not remember, if I just go over this, I might not remember that I did that one already, okay? But when I do a colored pencil, it tells me I've already done that one, I don't need to do it again. So you'll notice the paper is really thin. It might rip a little bit because you're kind of pressing down as you go. And not super hard. You don't want to rip it so that it's impossible to use, but you're kind of pressing because underneath here is the styrofoam. I'm making an imprint in this foam so that it will become my printing plate when I do printmaking later. So I'm pressing a little bit down. Where the tape is, it's okay. You can still press through that. If I had any lines that were thicker, just kind of go over them a little bit more. Maybe I want to fill in those dots. Okay, going in, filling those in. Just go over those lines a couple times, the thicker lines. And as you can see, I'm just going to keep going and keep going until I've completely covered this. Pause. Okay. Okay, so you see I have completely traced over all of my lines using the colored pencil. So I'm ready for step number 5, which is take the paper off of your styrofoam and you're going to retrace your lines using a regular pencil. This is the last thing that you need to do to get your artwork, to get your printing plate ready for printing. So do you see what's happening? My paper is ripping. Oh well, not a big deal. I don't really need this anymore. I know I said that was your good paper, but you don't actually need it now that you've got your drawing transferred onto styrofoam. So it might be a little difficult to see on video, but I'm doing this so that you can see the reflection of the imprint in the styrofoam. And this is okay, but it's not quite deep enough for printing. So that's why I'm saying take that regular pencil and come back in and just retrace those lines. You're just pressing down all the lines that are already there and just making them a little bit deeper because that's going to make your artwork, it's going to make it work better when you go to add the ink onto this surface. It'll have a place to, it'll have a negative space that it won't print on these spaces. See, that's all I'm doing, going back and retracing, pressing down as I go. And as soon as you are complete with all of these steps, you are done for the day. Just make sure that you turn in this styrofoam to your teacher. She is going to collect them because we don't want these to get lost. So make sure you have all that stuff on the back and you turn this into your teacher, and that's it.